Hi everyone, my name's Paul. This episode is part of a series called Glimpses of Jesus. We're going on a journey through the Old Testament, examining the main events and asking how they point us to Jesus and salvation in Him. God has given Israel 10 commandments, 10 significant words that describe how the people should live with God. Yet they're words that no one can keep. How's that going to work out? Have you ever seen what happens when you mix sodium and water? Take a lump of sodium metal and throw it in a lake. At first, not much. Then the water begins to bubble and shoots upward like a giant fountain. Sodium and water do not mix well. Put them together, there's always an explosion. What happens when you mix a holy God with a sinful people? Simple answer: an explosion. In Exodus chapter 33 and verse 3, God says, "Go up to a land flowing with milk and honey, but I will not go with you because you are a stiff-necked people. Otherwise I might destroy you on the way." Now this is a problem. God's intention in calling Israel is for them to live in covenant with Him, to know His blessings and live in His care. But if they keep sinning, it's going to get messy. That's where the tabernacle fits in. The tabernacle is a compound that God instructed the Israelites to make and place at the center of the camp. It consists of a courtyard with an altar in it and a basin for the priest to wash. At one end there's a tent which contains various pieces of furniture and a curtained off area at the back. Behind the curtain, a wooden box covered in gold with the sculptures of 2 angels on the lid. The box is called the Ark of the Covenant. What's it all about? Let's dig in and look at 3 aspects of the tabernacle. What did they mean, and how do they point us forwards to Jesus? The tabernacle is the home of the Ark of the Covenant. This box is extraordinarily ornate. In Exodus chapter 25 and verses 10 and 11, we read, "They are to make an ark of acacia wood, 45 inches long, 27 inches wide, and 27 inches high. Overlay it with pure gold. Overlay it both inside and out. Also make a gold moulding all around it." Its meaning, though, is even more impressive. The ark is a physical reminder of God's active kingship and presence with the nation. God points this out to Moses in Exodus chapter 25 and verse 22. "I will meet with you there above the mercy seat, between the 2 cherubim that are over the ark of the testimony. I will speak with you from there about all that I command you regarding the Israelites." As Moses enters the tabernacle, he goes into the tent, through the curtain, and approaches the ark, invited by God to stand before His throne. At the end of Exodus, in chapter 40, the tabernacle is assembled and consecrated. What happens next is incredible. The cloud covered the tent of meeting, and the glory of the Lord filled the tabernacle. Moses was unable to enter the tent of meeting because the cloud rested on it, and the glory of the Lord filled the tabernacle. The cloud, the physical symbol of God's presence, now descends on the tabernacle. In essence, God moves in. At the heart of the camp, we find a symbol of God's presence and rule with His people. He is with them. What an encouragement that would have been to the Israelites every time they saw the tabernacle. It speaks, God is with us. Jesus says the same thing. In John chapter 1 and verse 14 we read, "The Word became flesh and dwelt among us." The word "dwelt" here literally means tabernacled. In Jesus, God comes into the world to live with His people. In Matthew chapter 1, Jesus is given the name Emmanuel, which means God with us. As we look at Jesus, we see that God is not distant or absent from His people. No, He's with His people. He stands with them. He stands with His church and will always be with them. The tabernacle is also the place of sacrifice. As you enter the courtyard, you're confronted immediately by the altar. The design is found in Exodus chapter 27 and verses 1 and 2. You are to construct the altar of acacia wood. The altar must be square, 7.5 feet long and 7.5 feet wide. It must be 4.5 feet high. Make horns for it on its 4 corners. The horns are to be of one piece. Overlay it with bronze. The altar speaks a message. There's a problem that needs to be fixed. God is holy. That means he's perfect and pure. Yet more than that, he's set apart. He's high and lifted up, surrounded by unapproachable light. He's jealous of his own glory, a blazing fire. There's no place and no room for sin and rebellion in his presence, as we're told in Psalm 5 and verse 4. For you are not a God who delights in wickedness. Evil cannot dwell with you. The only way to live with God is to do what's right always, to be perfect, to honour him as God, to love him with all that we have, and love others as ourselves. Think the 10 Commandments. Anything less is explosive. After Exodus, we have the book of Leviticus. It's full of laws and ceremonies that point to the need for purity in life with God. Laws that cover food, that cover skin diseases, that speak about touching the dead and going to the toilet. Yet here's the problem. Sin comes from the heart. And no matter how strict the rules are, it will always find a way to spill out. There's no place for sin with God, yet Israel sins. What's the solution? It's standing in front of us, the altar, or rather the sacrifices offered on it. These sacrifices are important. In Leviticus chapter 17 and verse 11, God makes this statement. For the life of a creature is in the blood, and I have appointed it to you to make atonement on the altar for your lives, since it is the lifeblood that makes atonement. What does that mean? In the sacrifices, God has given the people a way to deal with the problem of their sin. An animal can be killed in their place. The animal's blood, the symbol of its life, will be accepted as payment for sin, atonement. We see this in Leviticus chapter 16, which contains instructions for the Day of Atonement, a yearly festival that's part of God's provision for dealing with ongoing sins. Each year, the high priest would sacrifice a bull for his own sins, and then bring 2 goats into the tabernacle for the people. He would put his hands on the first goat and send it into the wilderness. It was called the scapegoat. Symbolically, the sins of the people were put on it, and the goat carried them far away. The other goat was killed, and its blood sprinkled on the top of the Ark of the Covenant, the lid which was called the atonement cover. The result. Here's Leviticus chapter 16 and verse 30. Atonement will be made for you on this day to cleanse you, and you will be clean from all your sins before the Lord. When we sin, God can't just forgive us. Our sin can't merely be thrown into the cupboard and forgotten. God is just and merciful. To forgive, our sin must be paid for. Here, God is saying that the blood of the animal will be accepted as payment for sin. Imagine being an Israelite and living in the camp. Every day you'd see the smoke of the sacrifice. You'd smell the fumes of burning flesh. In one sense, it's pretty gruesome. Yet the message is clear. Without atonement, Israel cannot live with God and know his blessings. But can animals really make atonement for sin? The New Testament says no. Here's Hebrews chapter 10 and verse 4. For it is impossible for the blood of bulls and goats to take away sins. So what's going on with the tabernacle? Is God raising false hope only to shatter it later? No. The sacrifices are a shadow of Jesus. They are a focus for faith in the Old Testament, but a focus that points forward to a better sacrifice. What's that? It's the sacrifice of Jesus on the cross. Hebrews chapter 10 and verse 14. For by one offering he, that's Jesus, has perfected forever those who are sanctified. At the cross, Jesus makes the ultimate atonement, paying for sins once and for all. The result? All who trust in him are forgiven. Their sins, past, present, and future, dealt with. That's just astonishing. Now, there's more furniture in the tabernacle, and each has its own significance. But let's turn and think about the priests. In Exodus 28 and verses 1 to 2, God tells Moses, "Have your brother Aaron with his sons come to you from the Israelites to serve me as priest. Aaron, his sons Nadab and Abihu, Eleazar and Ithamar. Make holy garments for your brother Aaron, for glory and beauty. The priest's job is to mediate between God and Israel. They're the people's representatives before God. This is symbolized in the high priest's clothing. 2 onyx stones on the shoulders engraved with the names of the 12 tribes of Israel, and 12 precious stones on the breastpiece, 1 for each tribe. As Aaron comes before the Lord, he comes as the representative of the people, like an ambassador standing in their place before God. It's also the priests who have to offer sacrifices to make atonement for sin, whether for the nation or individuals. If you turned up at the tabernacle with your animal, it wasn't self-service. Leviticus 1 gives instructions for the burnt offering. Notice how many times we're told it's the priest who must put it on the altar. But if his offering for a burnt offering is from the flock, from sheep or goats, he is to present an unblemished male. He will slaughter it on the north side of the altar before the Lord. Aaron's sons, the priests, will splatter its blood against the altar on all sides. He will cut the animal into pieces with its head and its fat, and the priest will arrange them on top of the burning wood on the altar. But he is to wash the entrails and legs with water. The priest will then present all of it and burn it on the altar. It is a burnt offering, a food offering, a pleasing aroma to the Lord. The priests are instrumental to the function of the tabernacle. Who could bring the people's request to God? The priests. Who brought God's direction to the people? The priests. Who could bring the sacrifices to God that dealt with sin? The priests. Now, that gets at our sense of independence and individualism. Do I really need someone else so I can come to God? The Bible says you do. And that's not just in the Old Testament. Aaron and his family line, the Old Testament priesthood, is a shadow that points us to Christ. The book of Hebrews tells us that Jesus is the ultimate priest, the one who can truly represent us, perfect in every way, yet like us and knowing our weaknesses. A priest who offers a sacrifice that deals with sin once and for all. Hebrews chapter 2 and verse 17. Therefore, he had to be like his brothers and sisters in every way, so that he could become a merciful and faithful high priest in matters pertaining to God, to make atonement for the sins of the people. The invitation of the Bible is to come and know God with us. That's staggering, yet it's not simple. God is holy and we are not. That's a recipe for an explosion, yet it's possible through Jesus, the true tabernacle. In Jesus we can know God. In Jesus, who has paid for sin, we can be right with God. In Jesus, the one true high priest, we can come to God.